Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa. I am definitely an alcoholic and an addict, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight. My sobriety date is November 9th, 2020. And I just want to give a pre-warning that there could be some trigger points in my story. So, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So, I was thinking about this before I came on, and I was like, well, this could be really simple, right? What it was like. I had fun, I did risky things, I didn't think too much of it because I didn't think I had a problem. I fit in and I was happy for a while, right? What happened? I became a different person. I became miserable. I started using it, basically led to near death, and I was unhappy all the time. And what it's like now is amazing. Um, but that's the simplest version to put it. So what it was like was I grew up in an Irish Italian family, very loving, very supportive, um, not very under, not very aware, I guess, of the whole idea of alcoholism and the genes running in our family. Um, so my first drink, let's start there. My first drink was when I was 4 years old. I was at I believe, a New Year's Eve party, and I was walking around, picking up people's drinks and drinking whatever I could find, I guess. That's what I was told. I don't remember, obviously, at 4 years old. And then my mother realized and flipped out, and apparently I loved it. I was singing, I was dancing, I was in having the time of my life. Um, so I can honestly say that I believe in my heart that from the get-go, I was an alcoholic. Because from that point forward, everything I had done, looking back now, was done alcoholically. Um, the way that I was so particular and had to manipulate to wear only the clothes that I wanted to, the colors that I wanted to, how to get different snacks, how to play my parents against each other. Um, I grew up during, I grew up doing musical theater and dance, which I loved. My father, who is an alcoholic at that time, showed up for everything. Um, so I have a brother too. It was a good childhood. Um, by the age of 10, my mom had another child, my sister. Um, and by like 8, 9, and 10 is when my dad's drinking got to a point where I could notice it. The fighting, the hearing it at night, the nightmares, going to school upset. I was put into therapy at school at that point in third grade. Also because we were moving and my life was basically being uplifted. Um, I moved to a small town in Rockland County, and from that point, I only remember being happy doing singing, acting, and dancing. I was miserable in school. I had an IEP, so I was in special learning classes, so I was always very made fun of. I had a huge gap in my teeth. I didn't fit in. So it wasn't until around 14 when we were at family gatherings that we could drink wine. Um, and I loved it. From the moment I took that first sip, it was a tingling sensation. Um, I remember thinking to myself, wow, um, this is kind of cool. Um, I I feel better. And I don't know why I felt better, but I did. And so I quickly realized that I could go get some soda and go over to the liquor cabinet and pour this clear drink into my soda, and vodka was my new best friend. Um, at my sweet 16, my mom had bought a six pack for me and six of my friends. Um, little did she know I already had some friends coming over as well that were sneaking stuff in. By 17, I was severely depressed, and they I had been in therapy now since third grade, but I was very overwhelmed with school, very overwhelmed with the idea of getting into the college I wanted, drinking heavily, and I tried to kill myself. Um, so I had a nice stay at Four Winds Hospital in Katona, and it's in across the bridge in Westchester, and somehow got around going to all the drug and alcohol classes because I didn't go in there drinking and I didn't go in there honest saying, yeah, I drink all the time, because those questionnaires you fill out, it was very easy to manipulate them and say, no, like I'm 17. Of course I drink like on the weekends. There's nothing wrong with that. They did put me in the classes, but I got very upset and I told them I needed more help with my mental stability and that I just couldn't do it. So they let me get away with it. I got out. I did go to college. I got in based on my audition. I failed academically. So I had all these extra classes. By the third month, I had drank so much and smoked so much pot that, well, I actually pot smoking had stopped a little bit. I'm sorry, dried goods. Um, and I don't remember how much I took or what I took of my medication, or how much I drank. And the next day, my mom was at the door and I was leaving college. I got sent home. Went back to that same hospital. Um, so to sum the hospital stays up, because I don't want to keep going back to that because I believe that you just go forward. I was at Four Winds a total of 9 times. Um, and I didn't get it, any of them. I really didn't. Some of them were just for severe depression. Some of them were for suicidal ideation, and two of them, three of them were suicidal attempts. Um, but I believe that if I had been taking my medication as I was supposed to and not constantly drinking on them and trying to play doctor, that that might not have happened. So I come home from school, I make a new group of friends, and of course I get involved with the group that's drinking, um, heavily. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm at work drinking, I'm at home drinking, I'm drinking with my friends, and then my boyfriend introduced me to some dry goods, which I then got hooked on as well. Toward the end of that relationship, it became abusive mentally and then physically. And it got bad one night. He choked me, threw me to the ground. I chased after him. He threw me in the gutter, hit my head, um, called my best friend, went home and cut, and believed it was all my fault. How could I do this? How could I make him not love me? Um, drunk as a mess, drunk skunk, like just hysterical. And she told my mom. She made me tell my mom. I had cut a little too deep that night. Um, my brother in turn found out, and as any protective brother would do, he did try to attempt to go to his house with some friends, but the kid actually ran, like almost answered the door and then ran. And you could see it in the window because his house used to have windows. Not that I remember his house, but his dad answered and said he wasn't home. And I was like, wow, okay. I was very happy for that. But at the same time, I was just like, okay, cool. I never reported anything, which is today something that I do regret, that I work on praying about, to forgive myself. And my brother did run into him eventually, and a mutual friend got involved. And my brother ended up punching him in the face because he cracked a bottle first and it was dark. And when he fell, he broke his leg. And then he proceeded to press charges on my brother. And it is illegal to hit somebody first. So my brother did go to jail, which sent me into a deep, dark depression with my drinking, and said maybe I need to get some help. Um, so that was the first time I went to get help. And it was in, I believe, 2016. I did pay attention. I did admit that I had a problem. Um, and it was funny because the nurse by that time knew who I was. Obviously, most of them did. And I walked in and I said, I really think I need help. I can't stop drinking and my life is falling apart. And she said, oh, really? Well, we've known that. We've been waiting for you. And I was like, oh, well, look at that. Everyone knew but me. Um, so in I went, and I ended up staying there for about 14 days. Um, I did not speak at the first three meetings. Um, I just listened. And instead of comparing everything to my dad or comparing everything to I didn't do that or I haven't done that yet or anything like that, I actually opened my mind up and I heard what the people were saying. And I took in what the people were saying and I was able to relate to what some of those people were saying. And on that fourth night, when I said, hi, my name is Melissa, I'm an alcoholic, um, I thought I had cried every tear I could have. And that was not true. I think I cried for 10 hours after that. Um, it was a weight being lifted. It was a blessing. It was it was my gift of desperation at that moment. Um, at that point, I didn't have anything else left. Um, I got out and I didn't want to get out, so I asked the nurse to write me a note and tell everyone that I had to stay a little while longer because I was scared and I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to have to talk to anybody that wasn't in the hospital with me or in the group with me. And she gave me a list of meetings that were in my area. And she said, I knew you were going to do this. And she goes, this is the meeting tonight, and your mom can go with you. And I said, wow, okay. And I said, are you sure this is what I do? And she said, you go home and you go to a meeting. And if you're not going to go by yourself, your mom can go with you. So that's what I did. I went home and I went to a meeting, and it happened to be right around the corner from where I was staying and living at the time. So my mom came with me, and I walked in, and I thought all y'all were high because you were so happy and giving each other hugs and and laughing and smiling. And I was standing there just like, what is happening around me? What am I doing here? This is a lot. Like I was very overwhelmed. And this sweet, sweet woman came over to me and she introduced herself and I introduced myself and so did my mom. And then she was like, do you want to read how it works? And she handed me the paper and it looked like it was 3 pages long to me. And I didn't mean to, but I rudely was like, absolutely not. And my mom was like, Mel. And she's like, that's okay. She asked me to read step one. And now I realize that woman saved my life because I went back to that meeting and I read step one every single time I went back for a week. And thinking about it now, she gave me step one for a reason. And it's the most important step. It's the one step that you have to do first and get it right. You have to admit that you are an alcoholic and that no power greater than God can remove this from you. Um, Whoever your higher power is. And so they were starting to talk about sponsorship, and I got involved and got a sponsor. I completed my 12 steps. It was very difficult my first time around because I had God on my resentment list. So I kind of had to do a semi mini step four before I could even do two and three. Um, so I had to go back to two and three, which was really good for me. Because I'd grown up with a loving God, a really loving God. And during my dark times and during things like the abortion I had to have, or the guy that was abusive, like I gave up on him. I thought he had left me. Um, those suicide attempts, I thought he was just keeping me here to torture me. Um, so when all of that fell in line and I found my higher power again, I was able to gain strength again. And that was what I needed. I needed strength. I needed hope. I needed faith. And that's what I got from doing my steps. Um, I found out a lot of my character defects and how they affected me and with which certain people they seem to be arising with all the time. Um, Thankfully, my next sponsor was a part of HVYPAA. And she introduced me to HVYPAA, which is Westchester, Orange, and Rockland Young People in AA. And I quickly joined the group. I was very happy. I started making friends immediately that were actual friends and wanted to be around me and did not want to use me. Um, I then moved north. Um, I relapsed in COVID. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the timer and I'm realizing I only have a minute and 30 seconds left. Okay. So YPAA is amazing. It saved my life. And I moved north to HVYPAA, which is Hudson Valley Young People in AA. And we host and we're a service committee of young people that host events and go to events to show newcomers that there's life after sobriety. Um, and we just finished being HVYPAA, which is the Empire State Convention of Young People in AA, which was all of New York State and any other state that wanted to come. It was an amazing experience. It definitely was difficult at times. Every day is difficult at times. Every day can be a really big struggle at times. Um, but after my relapse in 2020, I came back strong in 2020. And since then, I've completed my steps again. I have a job now that I love to death, that I go to every day sober. And I am, now that we're not HVYPAA anymore, we are turning back into HVYPAA. And we're going to have elections soon. Um, so I'll hop back on at some point and let you guys know when our elections are. Hopefully we can do them virtually as well, and some of you can come. Um, oh, my time is up. Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. Sorry if I was all over the place. It's kind of been a crazy day. But my one thing that I will say to any newcomer in here or anyone that is seriously struggling is that ask for help. Ask for help. It's okay not to be okay. It truly is. But it's not okay to not be okay and say something. Whether you tell your best friend or you tell someone like a priest or a rabbi or a random meeting, or you call a number on a hotline, tell somebody that you're not okay because your life is worth saving. And with these 12 steps, you can absolutely do this if you have faith in yourself and you follow the steps, because it's honestly a simple program meant for complicated people. The topic that I would like to give out today is resilience, how you show resilience in your recovery every day to get through even those days when are really, really hard. Thank you.